In this video, I make a start on a brand new O-gauge layout. Hi everyone and welcome back to Newton Grove. Now before we get started, please give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe if you want to, and as you're watching the video, feel free to comment below as well because your interaction does mean the world to me. I have decided to build a brand new layout, a lot bigger, almost twice if not three times as big as my Newton Grove layout, and you can see here this is the start. I won't talk to you too much about this right now. All I'll say is these are the Grainge Hodder boards. They are fantastic. And let's now rewind in time. It's currently August 2025. Let's go back to January 2025 when I took delivery of these boards and I'll show you how I put them together and then we'll move forward with the project. Well, hello and welcome to the start of my brand new O-gauge model railway. You may of course have seen my previous one, Newton Grove, which has toured the UK over 2024 and been in Hornby magazine several times. It really just went to prove what you could do in such a small space in that large scale, that being 9 foot long by 18 inches wide. But I have a growing collection of locomotives and I've always wanted to have a larger layout. Having built Newton Grove, I've wanted to test my modelling skills and make something on a larger scale with different buildings and other bits and pieces. And I do love MPDs, so that's what this new one is all about. It's going to be based on Bolton shed over in Lancashire, and we'll have a look at that a bit later. And this one is going to be 16 foot long by 13 foot wide, plus fiddle yards at either end. And what you see in front of me is one of the boards. Obviously not assembled yet. These come courtesy of Grainge and Hodder, and they are the most incredible baseboards. I've seen them before on many layouts that I've photographed or I've seen at exhibitions. They are sturdy, they come all pre-cut so you can just assemble them very, very easily. And as far as I'm concerned, there are no better boards. So a huge shout out to the boys at Grainge and Hodder for giving me these wonderful boards. Right, now, the first thing of course is assembling this. So without further ado, let's get to it. So you can see here that I have all the pieces of the jigsaw laid out. So the only thing I haven't put on here is the cross beams, which they also include, which are optional if you want them, but we can come to that later on. So obviously over here we have the top of the board. We have some bracing over here which actually support the top of the board. We have two pieces for the sides, the length of. The inner two pieces, these two pieces over here are the outer section and these two are the inner section. Now the boards here, they are the 1200 by 900 mil, so 4 foot by 3 foot basically, give or take a little bit, and they are very, very easy to assemble. The good thing is they're nice and strong and rigid. You can see everything is laser cut, and with a millimeter thickness of 6 mil, these aren't going to go anywhere. They're going to give me loads of strength, especially for O-gauge. And if they can hold O-gauge, they can hold practically almost anything. So let's make a start putting this jigsaw together, shall we? Put everything off to the side to begin with. So all I'm left with is the internal structure. So like I said, this is 4 foot by 3 foot. So one goes there, one goes here, and they simply just lock in. Nice and easy. Now, of course, you might be thinking you should have put the second one in first. It doesn't matter. We'll glue all this down together later on. Well, there you go. That was very, very easy. The thing I really like about the Grainge Hodder boards is, well, they take all the guesswork out. You don't need to measure anything or cut anything. It literally is assemble. And as you can see here, I'm in the living room putting this together on a coffee table. So essentially, so long as you've got a flat surface, you can build these boards almost anywhere. That's just the start of it though, so let's crack on. Right, now in true Blue Peter style, these have now been assembled and glued together. Now I've just used simple wood adhesive, PVA glue. You don't need to use anything extravagant. When you're putting these pieces of plywood together, they work just fine. And the best thing is after about half an hour, that will already start to take up, especially if your room is nice and warm. So according to the instructions that you get with the Grainge Hodder boards, the next part to install are the top supports, which are these ones. So these are the ones over here I mentioned before that literally go on the top over here, which will then support our baseboard tops. So we'll add them on. The good thing about this is they just clip right in. We'll put a little bit of glue. Let me just make sure I'm getting these correct. Put a little bit of glue just between the low parts, not the high parts. Not too much because this will glue down really, really easily. And with a little bit of glue, you're going to get an amazing hard join. And then we can put these things on. I think it's very easy to overdo the glue, but of course if it does spill out, you can just run your finger along it and clean it all up. So, starting from one end, this just literally just locks straight in. See how simple it is to assemble these Grainge Hodder boards? They are just fantastic. Right, I'm now going to glue this one in, and then even though the instructions tell me to put the sides on next and to use some masking tape, I think that for better rigidity, I'm going to put the tops on first because that will at least keep everything here square and we can add the sides to it. Right, now we're going to put the tops on, so I'll put some glue all the way along here. Once again, not too much, I don't want it oozing everywhere. And then we'll do over here as well. Now the instructions that come with these boards, they're quite simple. What I did is I actually took everything out and did a dry test, a dry assemble before I started to build these, just so I was comfortable with what piece was what, where they all went and how it all fitted together. They're not all confusing, in fact it's not confusing at all, it's just I found that a dry run really helped just to go, right, that's what everything is, you count all your pieces, you know how it works. When it comes to building it, it's all sorted. We now grab our top bit. Now, the top bit over here, you've got two different sides. You've got the side which has actually got some closer cutaways. Now, that goes on the outer edge. The one that we're going to put here is you're looking for the long sections because they're the ones that fit over here between your long gaps. You don't want to be putting these in the wrong way around. So now we just line this up, and like magic, it all just drops in, just like that. Now, as I said, the instructions do say that this is one of the last things to put on. However, this of course locks into everything. It'll keep it nice and square, nice and tight. I can't see a reason why putting the sides on after this is going to be any form of issue. Famous last words, I know. So let's get the rest of the top on and see how I get on. So now that I've got the tops on the boards, you can see that I've flipped these baseboards upside down just to keep them nice and flat, and I've also rested some books on top while everything dries, just so everything is nice and rigid for me. And the good thing is, everything under here, I've also run a bead of PVA down everything to let that dry, just to really hold this thing as super tight as possible. So now that all that has been done, I'm going to start putting on the sides. Once again, these are all pre-cut, they'll just slot right in, so we'll do this side and we'll do this side. Now, the thing that I really love about these Grainge Hodder boards is that everything lines up absolutely perfectly for you. You've got all the holes over here to join things onto. You've got your holes that you can push out over here to put your bolts through to keep the boards aligned. everything is just going to be consistent. I could have 20 of these boards and they will line up absolutely perfectly. The other thing is, of course, if you look through over here, you can see the holes here in these baseboard formers, and that's really good for your wiring. You can feed your wires through in there as well. Now, I did mention earlier on before we started building these baseboards that you also do get some cross beams as well. But given the fact that this is O gauge and I'm doing an MPD layout, which is obviously a big yard, there'll be lots of point work, I'm not going to put the cross beams in here for extra rigidity, because when it comes to wiring the layout up and fitting all the point motors, it's going to be an absolute nightmare. But of course, if you're modeling double O gauge, N gauge or TT, then you can put those in there and just, move them around to suit wherever your point motors happen to be. Right, enough talking. Let's put these sides on, and then that completes board number 1. So, start with this part over here. Once again, I'm just going to run some glue over the edges, down over here, and just butt the entire thing up. As I've said before, you don't need to use too much PVA, because we'll run the PVA bead along the edge as well at the very end, and it will just all pull together really tight and make this incredibly rigid. Plus, you don't want to be cleaning up far too many things either. It's a little bit fiddly to get on, but just work it around gently, persevere, and there we go. So that is the first of the sides put on. I'll just wipe all this glue off. Right, I'll now go around the edges, put some glue in there, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this masking tape just to keep the edges together. Grainge Hodder actually do recommend that as part of their instructions, using the masking tape just to hold that together, because it can be a little bit fiddly. Right, let's get these 3 sides in. So as you can see, the masking tape does really come in handy just to keep everything where it's meant to be. And I'll put masking tape over this again. And what we've also done is we've been running PVA along the bottom and the sides just to make it really, really strong. Now, the eagle eye of you would notice that the hands keep changing. Well, I've got my good friend Keith over here helping me build these baseboards. And you don't need to have a second person helping build these baseboards, but you try filming and building at the same time with one person, it's very hard to do. So thank you, Keith, for your help. Now, of course, the masking tape does not stay there at the very end. It's just there just to keep everything nice and tight together whilst you're doing the corners, because the last thing you need is corners that aren't straight. I must say, these are some of the most enjoyable baseboards I've put together. Okay, half put together, I know what you're all thinking. But, as I said before, the fact that it's all cut together for you, it's laser cut, everything just fits into place. You don't need to cut anything, drill anything, design anything. You literally just need to work out what part goes where and put it together. And I have to say, building it the way we have, putting the top on first and then building the sides around it, I personally think that's been a lot easier, because when I did the dry run at home, putting the baseboard tops on last was actually a bit clumsy. It didn't seem to feel right. It was a bit fiddly. Unless you're taping the sides together, they just want to fall apart. So doing it this way has worked really well for us. So if you're using Grainge Hodder boards, then I recommend you trying that as well. Obviously, every board's a little bit different, but at the same time, it's all modular. It's all cut and designed in the same way. So if it's gone together this well for us, it should do exactly the same for you. Right, last thing is I'll put some glue around the edges and then leave this to dry for a day, and then we have 3 more of these to build. Now, of course, I'm not going to show you how to do 3 more boards because they're exactly the same. They're the same design, the same structure, the same size boards. As I said, these are the 1200 by 900 Grainge Hodder boards. So whilst I finish up on this, let's join me elsewhere. Let's go off to Bolton and have a look at what's left of the prototype. Right, I'm here in Bolton, and if I didn't tell you, you probably wouldn't believe that right behind me was Bolton Shed. 9K back in the end of steam, but 26C sometime in the 50s or early 60s. And this, for what I believe, is all that's really left of the original shed entrance. But over there is what's called the sheddings. That's because that's where the shed used to be. Sadly, there is nothing that remains a Bolton Shed, but let's have a look around. Right, so to the best of my knowledge, I'm standing right now where the entrance to the shed basically was. In fact, I'll put a picture up on the screen right now of what, if we were standing here in the 1960s, what the view from here would look like. And as you can see now, it's just houses and walls. Very different, very depressing. I must say, nothing really prepares you for what the modern day looks like. I'd often seen photographs of Bolton Shed after it was closed, and I've seen Google imagery of what the site looks like now from above, but physically going there myself and seeing the real location and looking back at all the photographs I've collected to see where the shed was, where the turntable was, where the L&Y coal stage was, where the BR huge coal tower was, and everything in between. And then the main line, of course, is still there. But seeing all that there, all that's left is literally that cobblestone entrance. And as we were exploring around, we did see some walling down toward the back where the beehive mill used to be. There looked to be some old BR concrete walls there, perhaps, I'm not too sure. But it's a harsh reality check, isn't it? To know what it used to be, seeing all the archival photographs and film, to physically be there, and it's just houses and streets and laneways, and that's it. Anything that was ever there is completely gone. And it's such a shame. It really, really is. But of course, the memory of sheds like Bolton survive through photographs, film, and inspiration for model railways. And that's what you're going to see in the very next video. So look, I hope that you've enjoyed this one. I hope that you really got something out of showing how the Grainge Hodder boards are put together. The only thing I didn't show you was actually how the boards were joined. I'll show you that in the next particular video. It's very, very simple indeed. But do me a favor, please give this video a like. Comment below what you've enjoyed, or maybe you've been to Bolton or any steamshed in the past if you're from that particular area, or maybe you've been in these locations without even realizing that this actually used to be the location of a steamshed. I would love to hear from you. And while you're at it, please subscribe to the channel. That means the world to me. Please consider becoming a patron of the channel. I appreciate all your support as well. And in the meantime, I'm going to get cracking on this. So I'll see you next time on Newton Grove.